What scientists just found beneath Nazareth will blow your mind. What scientists just uncovered beneath Nazareth has shaken both history and faith to their core. These surprising discoveries don't just rewrite the story of Nazareth, they challenge everything we thought we knew about its people, its purpose, and its connection to the beginnings of Christianity. But the deeper the researchers dug, the more unsettling their findings became. And what lies in those dark tunnels might just change history forever. The hidden layers beneath the town of Nazareth. Nazareth is located among the hills of Galilee, its modern skyline hiding an ancient world beneath. What now appears as a bustling Arab-Israeli city was once a small village carved into the earth and rich with secrets. Archaeologists have long been fascinated by this place, not only because it was home to one of history's most famous figures, Jesus of Nazareth, but also because its roots stretch back far deeper than most realize. Beneath its homes and churches lie clues to a civilization that thrived, adapted, and survived for centuries. According to archaeological findings, Nazareth was already inhabited during the Iron Age, between the 10th and 8th centuries BCE. That means the town existed long before the birth of Jesus. Excavations led by British-Israeli archaeologist Yardena Alexandri have revealed that Nazareth's earliest residents were Jews who lived quietly in the shadow of nearby, more prominent towns like Sepphoris. They lived simple lives, yet their ingenuity was remarkable. By carving into the soft chalk stone under their homes, they created underground rooms, storage pits, and cisterns. These subterranean spaces were not only practical for storing food and wine, but also provided secret shelters when danger approached. Alexander explains that the people of Nazareth used these underground spaces to evade taxes and even to hide from the Romans during the Great Revolt in 66 CE. What might look like humble pits and tunnels were, in fact, lifelines, proof of a community that relied on clever engineering and resilience. Beneath the surface of everyday life, the people of Nazareth were building a world designed to protect them from the storms of history. Archaeological evidence also shows that Nazareth evolved over centuries. Around the 1850s, European explorers began to identify it as a holy site, transforming what was once a small, forgotten hamlet into a place of pilgrimage. But long before the pilgrims came, generations of families had already made their mark. Alexandria's excavations, published in the Attiko Journal, describe the remains of domestic houses, storage pits, and water systems that give a vivid picture of life in the early 1st century. Among her most fascinating discoveries was a simple stone house found in 2009 near the modern Church of the Annunciation. That church, completed in 1969, stands on top of 3 earlier churches, the oldest dating back to the 4th century CE. Beneath it, Alexander found the remains of a small home with several rooms and a courtyard dating from the late Hellenistic to the early Roman periods. Inside the surrounding layers, she also uncovered cisterns and storage pits. These findings suggest that the area was not just a place of worship, but once a thriving neighborhood filled with ordinary families. Catholic tradition holds that the Church of the Annunciation was built over a cave believed to be the home of Mary, where the angel Gabriel appeared to her. Whether or not that story is literal, what lies beneath the church proves that the site has been sacred and inhabited for thousands of years. Archaeologists have also found shocking evidence that paints a picture of a settlement that was far more complex than once imagined. But what exactly lies beneath that convinced archaeologists that Nazareth was far more complex than once thought? Let's uncover the astonishing find, uncovering the home of a carpenter's son. Beneath the quiet grounds of the Sisters of Nazareth Nunnery, archaeologists uncovered something astonishing: the remains of a 1st century house cut deep into the limestone hillside, just steps away from the Church of the Annunciation. To believers, this wasn't just any ancient dwelling. Many began to whisper that it could be the childhood home of Jesus of Nazareth. The discovery first gained attention when British archaeologist Ken Dark revisited the original excavation records in his book The Sisters of Nazareth Convent, a Roman period, Byzantine, and Crusader site in central Nazareth. But the real story began much earlier, with a determined group of women whose efforts had been almost forgotten by history. In the late 19th century, Mère Giraud, the leader of the Sisters of Nazareth, led a team of nuns in what was, remarkably, one of the earliest major excavations ever directed by women. Their patience and precision preserved a window into the past that might have otherwise been lost forever. Long before the convent was built, the sisters noticed stone foundations beneath the site and carefully began clearing away the debris. What they found was astonishing. A courtyard house partially carved into the rocky hillside with walls of finely worked stone, living spaces, and a staircase rising from the bedrock itself. The style matched domestic buildings from the early 1st century, precisely the period when Jesus and his family would have lived in Nazareth. When Ken Dark re-examined the site using modern archaeological methods, he realized just how advanced the sisters' early work had been. They had, unknowingly, conducted one of the first rescue excavations in the Middle East, carefully studying the remains before new construction covered them. Their field notes, combined with pottery fragments and limestone artifacts, confirmed that the site was occupied from the 1st century to the 4th century. Among the finds were limestone vessels, a hallmark of Jewish households observing ritual purity laws. This detail quietly but powerfully confirmed that the residents were part of a devout Jewish community, not the Hellenized culture found in nearby cities. By the 4th century, the modest home had transformed into something sacred. Early Christians began to venerate it as a holy site, and a protective structure known as the Church of the Nutrition was built over it, a name referring to Jesus' upbringing. Pilgrims of the time, including one named Egeria, described the site in glowing detail, a big and very splendid cave in which she, the Virgin Mary, lived. An altar has been placed there, and within the actual cave is the place from which she drew water. The words preserve the devotion and awe the place inspired, even centuries after it was abandoned as a home. Whether this truly was the home of the carpenter, Joseph, and his young son Jesus remains uncertain. Archaeologists are cautious, knowing that evidence must speak louder than legend. Yet the craftsmanship of the walls, the purity vessels, and the way the house was later enshrined all tell a compelling story, one that connects the simple life of a Galilean family to the beginnings of a global faith. But the house was not the only secret the earth of Nazareth had been keeping. Beneath its foundation, something else was found. Let's descend below the carpenter's home into the shadowed world that may hold the true key to Nazareth's buried history. Secret spaces below. Beneath the peaceful grounds of the Sisters of Nazareth Convent lies a hidden world carved from ancient stone. The site, now quiet and filled with prayer, was once a maze of tombs, burial caves, and narrow passages dating back nearly 2,000 years. Archaeologists studying the area discovered that these spaces, found around Nazareth and beneath the convent itself, belonged to the 1st and 2nd centuries. Each hollow chamber and tunnel told a story of fear, faith, and survival. When the Sisters of Nazareth Convent was first built in the late 1800s, the nuns had no idea that the foundations of their home sat upon layers of ancient life. Their mission was simple: to serve, to teach, and to heal. As archaeologist Ken Dark later described, the sisters worked tirelessly for their community, running a school, caring for the sick, and helping the poor of every background. Yet beneath their feet rested the traces of a different kind of devotion, carved in silence long before their time. The early excavations uncovered several rock-cut tombs and burial chambers built with remarkable precision. Some were small family tombs sealed with stone slabs, while others connected to underground corridors that seemed to twist endlessly beneath the hill. Archaeologists determined that many of these spaces had been repurposed over time. What had once served as cisterns and silos for storing food and water were later transformed into narrow hiding tunnels. Evidence suggests they may have been used as refugees during the first Jewish revolt against Rome, when fear and resistance filled the air across Galilee. Inside these cramped spaces, one can almost feel the pulse of those who once hid there, clinging to hope in the darkness. The underground world of Nazareth revealed much about the people who lived above it. Archaeological surveys between Nazareth and the nearby city of Sepphoris showed a striking contrast in lifestyle and belief. While Sepphoris displayed the influence of Greek and Roman culture, the people of Nazareth seemed determined to live by the old traditions. They followed strict Jewish purity laws, using limestone vessels and refusing to fertilize their crops with human waste, practices that kept their community ritually clean. Their stone-cut homes and hidden tunnels reflected both their humility and their quiet defiance against the foreign powers that surrounded them. For the Sisters of Nazareth, these discoveries were more than scientific findings. They became guardians of history, preserving ancient walls, artifacts, and detailed records left behind by their predecessors. Though some of the original relics have gone missing over the years, the sisters continue to protect what remains. Pilgrims and tourists still visit the site, walking through its shadowy halls and touching the rough walls that once echoed with whispers of ancient prayers. Yet, what scientists uncovered just beneath the floor of one major site would change everything. Beneath the familiar stone, something unexpected was waiting, something that could rewrite what we know about this sacred town. The game-changing discovery beneath the surface. Deep under the surface, they found vast cisterns, interconnected tunnels, and carved rock installations that hinted at a level of complexity no one had ever imagined for such a small settlement. These discoveries changed everything. The underground systems revealed careful planning and cooperation among the residents. There were large rock-cut pits that had once served as storage spaces but were later reused as hiding tunnels. These were not the work of a few scattered families. They pointed to a community that worked together, possibly during times of danger. The cisterns themselves were remarkable. Some were so large they could have supplied water for more than a single household. This suggested a communal system, something seen in larger and more organized towns. To uncover these secrets, archaeologists used a method called stratigraphic analysis, a way of reading the layers of earth like pages in a book. Each cut into the rock revealed a different era. The pottery found inside these layers helped date them from the early 1st century all the way to the 4th century. The picture that emerged showed generations of continuous habitation. People had built, rebuilt, and expanded their underground world across centuries, adapting old structures for new purposes. It was as if the town had evolved in secret beneath its own feet. The artifacts found in these underground spaces added even more weight to the discovery. Limestone vessels pointed to Jewish ritual purity practices, showing that the community maintained its traditions even while adapting to a changing world. This was a society deeply rooted in its faith, but also resourceful and resilient. Archaeologists began to see Nazareth not as an isolated hamlet, but as part of a broader network of Jewish settlements across Galilee, bound by shared customs and quiet strength. These findings forced scholars to rethink long-held beliefs about the town's past. If Nazareth had been larger, more connected, and more strategically built than previously thought, then the stories associated with it, both historical and religious, took on new meaning. How many people lived here during the early 1st century? How much influence did they have in the region? And how closely were they tied to the larger world beyond Galilee's hills? But hold on, the most mysterious part lies even deeper, not just in the earth, but in time itself. Who built these layers, and why were they hidden for so long? Who built it? The people, the power, the purpose. The story of Nazareth's underground world cannot be told without understanding the people who created it. These were not nameless laborers carving rock for no reason. They were a tight-knit community, Jewish families who had lived in Galilee since the early 1st century, holding firmly to their faith and traditions, even as the Roman Empire's influence spread across the land. Archaeologists pieced this together from the clues left behind: pottery shards, limestone vessels, and the very way the tunnels were shaped into the soft, chalky rock. Nazareth, though small compared to the nearby city of Sepphoris, had its own quiet rhythm. The evidence of quarrying shows that stonework was central to life here. The people of Nazareth didn't just build homes, they built from the earth itself. But beneath this peaceful image of craftsmen and farmers was another side, one forged by fear and resistance. The first Jewish revolt against Rome, which began in 66 CE, changed everything. The tunnels and hidden passages under Nazareth suddenly made sense. They weren't just for storage or workshops, they were escape routes, hiding places, and secret shelters. Carved through earlier silos and cisterns, these narrow tunnels formed a hidden defense system. While Sepphoris embraced Roman luxury, Nazareth turned inward, preserving its Jewish customs and rejecting the temptations of assimilation. This contrast revealed more than geography. It showed resistance. Nazareth's people were not just surviving under occupation, they were protecting their way of life, their faith, and their identity in the face of overwhelming power. It is now clear that Nazareth was far more than a humble village frozen in time. It was a living, breathing settlement, shaped by faith, struggle, and quiet strength. The people who built its underground world were resourceful, proud, and defiant, leaving behind a hidden record of their resilience beneath the modern city streets. The discoveries that brought these secrets to light were made possible by cutting-edge technology, and what it revealed expanded the mystery even further, technology exposing the secrets of the underground. To uncover the buried heart of Nazareth, science had to go where human eyes could not. Archaeologists turned to technology to peel back these layers without disturbing the sacred ground above. This journey began with ground-penetrating radar, a tool that sends waves deep into the earth and records their echoes. The images that appeared on archaeologists' screens showed voids, tunnels, and hidden chambers beneath Nazareth's surface. It was as though the ground itself had begun to speak. GPR helped map the unseen, from storage pits and cisterns to the outlines of ancient homes that no longer exist above ground. Pottery typology also helped date these layers even more precisely. Pottery styles shifted with time, and fragments found buried in each stratum acted like silent timestamps. Carbon dating further confirmed the ages of organic remains like charcoal, revealing that life in Nazareth had continued here for more than 2,000 years. One of the most fascinating examples of science meeting history was at Mary's Well, a site long associated with Christian and local legend. Beneath the modern fountain, radar revealed an underground water conduit stretching nearly 17 meters, a system that dates back to the late Hellenistic or early Roman period. This ancient channel once brought fresh water to the people of Nazareth, and its survival beneath centuries of rebuilding proved how deeply the town's infrastructure was rooted in its past. The well, once believed to be the spot where Mary fetched water, was also a reminder that faith and function often flowed together in ancient times. But uncovering Nazareth's buried secrets wasn't easy. The modern city above presented major challenges. Streets, homes, and churches covered nearly every inch of the ancient settlement. Excavations had to respect both Christian and Islamic heritage sites, making digging nearly impossible in many areas. The city's layers, Roman, Byzantine, Crusader, and modern, all rested on top of one another like a vast archaeological puzzle. Even a single excavation could expose traces from multiple periods, demanding delicate precision to interpret what belonged to which era. Science had finally brought clarity to mystery. Beneath the layers of myth and tradition, it uncovered a town of builders, believers, and survivors who adapted their environment to endure. Each discovery connected the spiritual and the practical, the human and the historical, rewriting Nazareth's story and what comes next. The discoveries beneath Nazareth have rewritten that story. What science and archaeology have revealed is far richer and far more complex than anyone could have imagined. The Nazareth of the early 1st century was no forgotten corner of Galilee. It was a thriving Jewish community, carved into the hillside, alive with faith, craftsmanship, and quiet strength. All the evidence now fits together like pieces of a vast puzzle. The underground cisterns and storage silos tell of careful planning and survival. The stone vessels, olive presses, and workshops point to a society that valued purity, tradition, and hard work. The tunnels and hiding places reveal courage in times of danger, while the remains of homes and courtyards show that life continued despite the threat of Rome. Far from being insignificant, Nazareth stood as a small but determined outpost of Jewish resilience, a community that built its faith into the very rock beneath its feet. This changes how we see not only the place, but the story it inspired. For theologians and historians, the image of Nazareth as a poor, isolated hamlet now feels incomplete. If the town was more active, more structured, and more connected than once thought, then the childhood world of Jesus in the origins of early Christianity may need rethinking. The quiet carpenter's village was, in truth, part of a living network of Galilean communities, sharing trade, culture, and struggle. Understanding that context brings new depth to the story of faith that began here. Pilgrims who visit Nazareth today stand above layers of time, Roman streets, Byzantine churches, Crusader ruins, and modern homes, all built over the same sacred soil. Each layer represents a different era of devotion and discovery. The Church of the Annunciation, the Sisters of Nazareth Convent, and the area around Mary's Well all serve as windows into this evolving landscape. Beneath their stones lie traces of people who lived, worshipped, and hoped through centuries of change. And yet, for all that has been uncovered, much remains unknown. How large was the settlement in the first century? Were there more tunnels linking parts of the ancient village that still lie undiscovered? Could there be other chambers or hidden shrines waiting beneath today's city streets? Even the identification of the so-called House of Jesus continues to spark debate among archaeologists and historians. Each discovery seems to answer one question and open three more. Nazareth is no longer just a name from Scripture. It has become a living archaeological mystery, a bridge between history and belief, between what we know and what we are still learning. The discoveries made so far have already transformed our understanding of the town, but they have also made one thing clear: this is only the beginning. We've uncovered layers of history, mystery, and belief buried beneath Nazareth, but what do you think these discoveries really mean? Share your thoughts in the comments. The discussion might reveal more than the ruins ever could.